Oh man, it's Friday. In Las Vegas, they don't do Red Friday. If you're in Chiefs Kingdom, they do Red Friday. Thursday night football, very fun, very interesting. A little fun fact. I had to watch the rebroadcast I had to watch the rebroadcast, and I have YouTube TV, so I have all 32, teams saved on DVR, so I had to watch it. They on the rebroadcast, they didn't show the Marikai Corley fumble, touchdown, whatever you want to call it. The Jets are driving, and then the Houston Texans are driving, so I had no idea what happened, and it was a little frustrating. Then after the game's over, I go back and see what happened, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, but I didn't even see the Corley fumble. This is the kid out of Western Kentucky. Really, really high on this kid. Lived with Aaron Rodgers during the offseason. I was really expecting him to be more involved in the offense. His first NFL touchdown. First NFL touchdown is just terrible. Oh man, this is such a treat for me. I'm starting Friday out strong because I got Keaton Talk Sports, who has his own YouTube channel. I don't have the link in my description below, but Keaton Talk Sports is go to your YouTube browser. If you're like myself, I have about 14 windows opened up, various things. Open up another window, go to YouTube, Keaton Talk Sports, hit subscribe. Keaton says, happy Friday, Dan. How about that Garrett Wilson catch? One of the best catches I've ever seen. And I actually thought it was a catch live. And then the replay, I was like, no. And then I was like, God, is that a catch? And it's like, even if it's not a catch, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And when I found out it was a catch, like it just, yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey, I had no idea that you were a Browns fan. I'm very glad you talked about this because it's a little different this year than in other years because the AFC, I think the AFC could get a 9-win team in. I really do. So if the playoffs were to start today, this is kind of fun. If the playoffs started today, the 4-3 Chargers would have that final spot, right? But listen to this. Listen to this, because I really think that there's only right now today, I think there's only 3 teams in the AFC I think I could say are not making the playoffs, and that's the Titans, the Raiders, and no offense, Keaton, the Patriots. Every other team, I think, has a legitimate chance. I think Jacksonville at 2-6 could have an excellent chance. Now, keep in mind, they have to upset Philly, which I don't see happening. If they do, they're 3-6. They have a possibility. The Raiders. The Raiders are. I know they're 2-6. They're not able to do it. All right. The Browns are 2-6. If the Browns win and go to 3-6, they have a chance. They actually have a chance, but the 3-6, you keep in mind they have to go on a roll, but absolutely they can. And the reason why is that the defense is good. Nick Chubb is I can, I'll rant a little bit. Todd Gurley was the Heisman frontrunner. at Georgia. He went down with an injury about halfway through the season. Nick Chubb replaced him, a true freshman. And I went to social media because I kept on saying, I think Nick Chubb is better than Todd Gurley. All sorts of hate. Also, no, you're nuts. The only two running backs in Georgia history to have two 200-yard rushing games as true freshmen are Nick Chubb and Herschel Walker. I think it was two 200-yard games. Maybe it was just one. If you're not aware of how highly they think of Herschel Walker in Georgia, I don't know. I mean, the guy ran. I think it was for Senate or House Representatives. But yeah. Yeah, I really believe that. I really believe that. I seriously believe this because here's the deal: you have to beat the Chargers at home first. If you do that, the Chargers have the 7 seed. You knock them down. Okay. At the Saints is a winnable game. Then Pittsburgh at Denver and at Pittsburgh. If you can find a way to be like 6 and 7 around there. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Kansas City at home's tough. All right. I've seen weirder upsets. But here's your last 3 games of the season. At Cincinnati, home against Miami, and at Baltimore. I really think you can go 3-0. All right. You can go 3-0. So in your next 6 games, if you can find a way to go 4-2, doing a lot of confusing math. That's 6-2. Hopefully I did my math right. Yeah, that's 6-2. So if you win this game, that's 7. That gets you a 9, and you have a chance. Austin, what is up, my brother? Yeah, I thought he'd have a better game. Wilson had a good game. Devontae, it was funny because I knew Devontae Adams had a good game, fantasy wise, and then I'm watching it. I'm like, did my buddy, get the receivers mixed up? Was it Wilson who had the good game and Adams didn't? But yeah, I mean, and by the way, somebody asked me. What was it, Rodgers, Murray, or somebody else? And I said, I kind of like Rodgers. I hope whoever I recommended to start Rodgers comes in today because, 3 touchdowns. I think it was 220, 3 touchdowns. That's not bad. That's not bad. You're right. That second Steelers game. So yeah, 4. Okay, I mean, I'm nitpicking here, but the second Steelers game, you could be 6-6 or 5-7. But yeah, if you can get to Kansas City at 6-7, I think you have a chance. I think 9 is a possibility. In the NFC, I think there's going to be a 10-win team on the outside looking in. On the AFC, I think you can get 9 and get in this year. I really, really do believe that. And by the way, you're playing the 7 seed, which would be the Chargers. So let me throw this out there. So the Chargers are 4-4. Colts play the Vikings. They're 4-4. They could easily be 4-5. The Bengals, I should know this. The Bengals I have beating the Raiders. Now, if the Raiders beat the Bengals, we're having a completely different conversation, but I think the Raiders will lose. They'll be 2-7, and they should be looking to acquire draft capital unless they want to make a off-season move at quarterback. This is part of the reason why I do the show is that I want to talk football, and I didn't know about the David Njoku mystery injury. I'm on ESPN, which of course is not the best way, but I don't see any information that he's um I think he's good to go now. Let me know because I think he's good to go now. But I mean, the last two games, 10 catches, 76 yards, a touchdown, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. I'm a huge David Njoku fan. For those of you who don't know, he has a really interesting story. He was a uh, grew up in New Jersey, went to Miami, one of the top receivers in the country. Decided he wanted to go to down south, and redshirted. And like a lot of kids do, when your first year in college, you gain a few inches, you put on some weight. And this is a guy who was an ACC high jump champion. Like he's one of the few people um, in the history of college athletics, the high jump 7-1. Very, very difficult accomplishment. But he did this at like 6'4", 240. So the University of Miami's like, look, why don't you try this tight end thing out? Um, Played 11 games as a tight end and came out in the draft. He was so athletically gifted, went to the Browns, maturity issues. Look, you're a redshirt sophomore. I think the Browns drafted him. He was 20. Maturity issues, drops. I had no idea how to block. And over the first couple of years of his career, he really struggled. But the last couple of years, I've heard from coaching staff, other players, issues, people that I trust. He's one of those guys, shows up early, leaves late. Great locker room guy, great maturity. Really, really grew up. Yeah, ESPN doesn't report this. That's why I want to do the show. Is I want people from all 32 fan bases to give me this information that we're not hearing from the general public, because this is a big deal. I'm a huge David Njoku fan. Because I didn't know this. And ESPN, I'm on ESPN right now. They're not reporting this. I think Winston does have a chance to do this, and I'm pulling for Jameis Winston as well, because there is a possibility that Winston could parlay this into the same type of contract Gardner Minshew had. That 2-year, $25 million deal with a chance to start. Let me ask you this: are you really going to tell me Winston's not better than Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders? Let me throw this out at you. When if you're Miami and you don't want to bank on Tua, why not bring Winston in? Winston with the big arm and those players, that speed. Are you really going to tell me Winston can't win you 10 games in Miami? Seriously? I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. Are you really, let me ask you this. Everything's exactly the same. You get a full off season. Are you going to tell me he's not better than Daniel Jones? Are you really going to tell me? I mean, this was the number one pick in the draft. A lot of people forget that this is the number one pick in the draft. Carolina. Are you going to tell me you put him on the Panthers that they don't win 2 or 3 games instead of the 1? I remember he was on Hard Knocks when he was the starting quarterback for the Bucs, and I was like, this isn't how. And if I was turned off, and he seemed to really just lack maturity. and he really to me looks like he's grown up. I am pulling for him because I remember he went to the Saints and every single person said the same thing. He shows up on time, he works hard, he rallies, there's no sulking, there's no bitterness, nothing. Let me ask you this, Jeffrey. Let me ask you this. And this is a lot more realistic than you may think, because Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, after this year, are free agents. What if you put him on the Steelers with that defense, with Pickens? Are you telling me the Steelers can't win 10 to 12 games with Jameis Winston as the quarterback? I can't thank you enough for this is what I've been trying to do for a long time. So I have Lions players giving me inside information. Jeffrey, I hope to hear from you a lot in the future. I'll put some stuff up on the community tab. I won't have a show next week. I have some personal matters to take care of, but I'll be available. Like if you have fantasy football questions, I'll have some stuff in the community tab. But I'm not going to be live next week, unfortunately. But this is the whole goal of me building YouTube channels. I want 32 different fan bases to come and talk to me. It honestly would have been easier to build the channel if I made it a Chiefs only channel, if I'm being honest. But I never wanted to just talk Chiefs, and I want to talk with Browns fans. Keaton is a Patriots fan. I got a lot of support from Lions fans. My buddy Denver Gator, Broncos fan, but he also is a Tampa Bay fan. I want to hear from all 32 teams. Yeah, I JOK is out. Yeah, I saw that. By the way, that was a guy I fell in love with. How did he go in the second round? One of my favorite players. Yeah, I know he's out. By the way, this isn't. I know that I didn't talk about it here, but the betting public paid attention because I'm looking. I got ESPN pulled up now. I have an affiliation with BetUS, and I'm going to go over some of the games with BetUS. But I have ESPN. The lines jumped a half a point. I think a lot of that has to do with JOK. I think he's that important. Chargers are favored this week. Chargers are favored. I mean, I'm a Chiefs fan, so of course I'm pulling for the Browns. But the early games, I mean, there's some really, really, really good ones. But I'm going to pay a lot of attention to Chargers Browns. I have the Sunday ticket, so I can watch that whole game. I'm going to watch a lot of New England and Tennessee. I want to pay attention now to two quarterbacks. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Tennessee, but I've been saying for a while Mason Rudolph fits that team better. And if it's Drake May, I want to see Drake May against a good front seven. I actually am geeked out to watch Saints and Panthers. I'm probably the only person who's not a fan of that fan base to be geeked out. Also, Jeffrey, I put some money on Denver, Baltimore. I took over 46.5. I took over 46.5. So I'm obviously going to pay close attention to that game. But Vegas, Bengals, I'm going to pay attention to that. Miami, Buffalo is always going to be a fun game. And then I still will be live. For Chiefs Bucks on Monday night, but I won't be I won't be live doing Afternoon Delight. Dave, Danny Boy put up 42 with Rodgers and Adams. Let's go. Nice. I was hoping you would go with Rodgers. 203 touchdowns is solid. That is solid. You have a very good start. I don't know the rest of your team just right off the top of my head, but hopefully this is a nice start for you. And I I won't be live next week, but I'll have some stuff in the community tab. I hope you drop a comment, or if you follow me on social media, you can DM me, or you can put a comment in any one of my videos. Let me know how you do, because I hope that this is the place to gloat. This is the place to gloat. So I hope to hear from you Monday with little victory news. So I heard JOK was out. JOK was out, and I didn't know about Denzel Ward. Then I've always been a huge fan of Denzel Ward. Love Denzel Ward. That's big news. That is big news. Austin, yeah, that's huge. I'm going off of ESPN. I'm not going off of Bet US, but I know the line was at 3.5. It's 4. People really like Washington. People really like Washington. That's huge. If you this is a guy I think you need to play on fantasy football. So Juan Thornhill, I'm glad he's having success with Kansas City. Or I'm sorry, I'm glad he's having success with Cleveland. He was always kind of a. So the drill is that the Chiefs had the 63rd pick in the draft, and they drafted Juan Thornhill, and I was furious because the 64th pick was DK Metcalf, and the all season Tyreek Hill. I won't rant too much about it, but there were some legal issues. So what the Chiefs did is traded up for McCole Hardman, and they could have had DK Metcalf instead, but instead of DK Metcalf, they drafted Juan Thornhill, and I was just so mad because Thornhill was the next pick by the Seahawks, and I was just boiling mad about that. So like I was kind of an anti Thornhill guy, and he played well, just not. He was never a Pro Bowler, but I remember watching with the Browns, and I thought his play really went up. By the way, you're right. I messed up. By the way, so let me clear this, Tigger, because I did drop the ball here. He's not out for the year. He's eligible to come back to practice. There's no guarantee he's going to play in the next couple weeks. I do think you should drop him, but before I say that, who's available to pick up? Because I gave you some wrong information. No, I'm sorry about that. By the way, Tigger, I'm so glad to see you, man. 12-team non-PPR superflex, 2 quarterbacks. You have Lamar, Hall, Hunt, Downs, London, Ferguson, Mixon, T-Law, benches, Aguilar, Carr, Hopkins, Justice Hill, Mason, Jerry Jeudy, Alec Pierce, Thielen, Noah Brown. Help me win. By the way, I'm so happy to hear from you, 7-1. Breece Hall didn't have a great game, but I hope hopefully Kareem Hunt will. Despite how good the Broncos defense is, I hope Lamar Jackson has a good game. I have a small wager on the over on the Ravens Broncos. So Mixon did have a good game for you, so hopefully Mixon and Hall did well. Josh Downs could have a huge game. London, after that massive performance, has not been great, but I kind of like him better than what you have on the bench. I don't blame you for going with Trevor Lawrence. You might look. Derek Carr has been out for a while. I said the same thing yesterday. I mean, he's been out for a while. Carolina has a historically bad defense, like an all-time bad defense, where Trevor Lawrence is going against a really good Eagles defense. I would probably go with Lawrence myself, but you may want to consider Derek Carr. So with Alex Pierce and Jerry Jeudy and Noah Brown, I don't know what's available waiver wire trade wise, but what you have listed, I mean, Lamar Jackson is going to put you up some good points. Ideally, Kareem Hunt has a big game on Monday night. I like the fact that you got Algier. His production's been going up, and if the John Robinson goes down, Aguilar becomes a running back number one. I think that highly of him. I really do. I liked him when he was playing for BYU. He really stood out. I was surprised he lasted the fifth round. I remember his rookie year, he got over 1,000 yards. But no, this is solid. I mean, Lamar Jackson is in really, really, really good shape. Again, he's not out for the year, but he's not going to play for another couple of weeks. I mean, he's going to come back to practice. Who's available on the waiver wire, and is there any possibility that you can make some trades? I didn't know that. Jeffrey says Drake is leading the league in downfield passes. I was surprised by that. Yeah. Noah, welcome back, brother. By the way, Noah, I won't be here next week, but you can put I'll have some things on the community tab, and I will be live on Monday night doing Chiefs Bucks, so you can ask questions there. You can also DM me on social media or go old school, hit me up on an email. But I'll have some stuff that you can communicate with me if you need some help. Just I won't be doing the afternoon delight show next week. London for Nico. My team. Okay. My team is Lamar, Mixon, Bijan, A-Chain, London, CD, Amon Ra, McBride. So I could put A-Chain in the flex if it doesn't work out. If it does, Nico. Oh yeah, because like Nico is so right now you got London and you're thinking about adding Nico. Now, and this is kind of risky because you have no guarantee. One, if Diggs being there, eliminates some coverage, because once Nico Collins comes in, he's a one. Do you bracket him? Do you put your best guy on him? Do you double cover him, or do you say, hey, look, we got to worry about Tank Dell, who had 126 last night? London, however, is solid. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're starting CD and Amon Ra. You probably went Nixon last night, but John Robinson's solid, and you're flexing A-Chain. So London on your bench for a guy that could potentially be your flex in Collins, I kind of like it. I kind of like it because the thing about A-Chain is, as much as I like him, he's like 190, 195 pounds, and they're gonna use him now. And another thing is, Mozart's touches are getting up there, and Jalen Wright's getting a few touches, so there's a chance. I like A-Chain because I know last time they played the Bills, A-Chain blew up. So, I mean, it makes sense to put him in the flex again. But yeah, I like the idea of adding Collins, because if it doesn't work out, I mean, you're not playing London anyway. So, yeah, let me know what you do. Let me know what you do. Donovan, bro, Wilson dropped 30. I'm having second thoughts about trading him for Puka. I would too. Did you didn't start him, did you? Hopefully you did. But listen, this is a situation with Wilson. This is what is called selling high. Do you remember you had to put Wilson with somebody for Puka? Do you remember? If I remember correctly, you wanted to do something with Wilson. Now you can trade him straight up. Do you want to do that? That's up to you. But this would be the situation. The situation here is called trading high. By the way, Puka got banged up. Apparently he's going to play, but he is on the injury report. So what you're kind of hoping for is that Puka plays and he looks good, but he doesn't have a lot of production. Maybe this is Cup's game to blow up. And where you're in a situation of selling high, you get Puka plus something, where before you're giving Wilson plus something. You can also keep him. You can also keep him. The trade didn't go through. You probably left him on the bench. Don't be mad that you left him on the bench if that's the case. If you started him, great. But if you left him on the bench, don't be mad about it, because the guy that you would have made the trade for, that you kept 30 points away from somebody else. Listen, a lot of people get mad when they lose 30 points. It's really not a bad thing, because those 30 points didn't go to anybody else. And some guy was trying to get those points. You prevented somebody from scoring 30 on you. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. But and if you started him, well, then great. But more than likely you probably didn't. But I don't remember. But yeah, you should have second thoughts. But if you do, this is what's called selling high. Let's be honest. How many times is Wilson going to have the catch of the year, plus 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards in the same game? No, hold on. Did he get over 100? I actually don't remember. No, 92 touchdowns and catch of the year. Okay. By the way, if you're curious, he has 5 touchdowns all year, so he had 2, and the targets are pretty steady. I mean, 10, 9, 8, and 10. Well, actually, the last 5 games. Now, keep in mind, Devontae Adams. The last 3 is with Adams, if I'm correct. 9, 8, and 10. So I mean, you're getting a guy with 10 targets, the 2 touchdowns. Production's still high, but yeah. Remember, you wanted to give up something else. Well, now you don't have to. I call this selling high. This is what you want to do. This is how you win in fantasy football, is when the players at their peak, you get rid of them for players that are going to hit their peak, like Puka might be. Donovan, stay in touch with me. Let me know what you end up doing. Do it in the community tab. I'm going to have some stuff on YouTube. I'm going to have some stuff on Twitch. I just won't be live next week. But stay in touch with me. Let me know what you do. HD, I'm 3-5 and need to win now. Yes, let's get you ramped up. How do you feel about trading Nico for Aaron Jones and Devontae Smith? Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Can you do it today? If you can do it today, do it today. I 100%. Listen, Aaron Jones against a bad Colts defense is a smart move. Devontae Smith might be able to get you some points against a bad Jaguars defense. What I'm worried about that game, I can see a situation where Philly gets up by 17 to 20 points and just throttles it down and just runs right over um, Jacksonville. If Jacksonville puts up some points, then everybody on Philly's offense could have a field day. Do this. I would do this trade today and start Aaron Jones, unless you got, look, you're 3-5, so I know for a fact you don't have three good running backs. I'm assuming you're in a PPR league, making a few assumptions. You're in a 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex PPR league. If it's different, let me know. Aaron Jones has a lot of value in a PPR game. Remember, 10 days rest, bad Colts defense, you're at home. He's going to have a good game. Okay, so your current wide receivers, London, Debo, Downs, Reed, Mooney, Nico. Okay. Debo's value, or I'm sorry, well, next week, Debo's value, he's healthy, goes up. Downs value goes up. Reed, you don't know what you're doing. And then same thing with Mooney. A-Chain, James, Connor, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown. So Chase Brown has been getting more and more touches over Moss. I would do the opposite, but that's solid for you. Brian Robinson's not a bad play. James Conner against tough Bears defense, I wouldn't play. And then A-Chain could have a monster game. But, I mean, you actually have some good running backs. That said, I mean, I would look, here's the drill. Aaron Jones would be your number one guy this week. You got a lot of running backs though. So here's what I would do. Oh God, you know what? I'm looking at this roster, man. Look, you got some good running backs. What you need is some help with your receiving core. But I will tell you this right now. After the bye week, Deebo Samuel and Downs are solid. London is a guy that he's been kind of down since he had that performance against Tampa Bay, but he's still solid. I get why you want to keep Nico. And I'll be honest with you. Listen, if I was 5-3, I would keep Nico. You need to win now. So let me tell you this right now. Aaron Jones is on 10 days rest. You're playing a really bad Colts defense. You're at home. You need a win if you're the Vikings. Okay. Aaron Jones, I think, is a must start. Okay. Nico, when he comes back, you don't know what you're going to do. There's no guarantee he's going to come back. So I would make this move in your situation. I would also start him. I would start A-Chain, and then you have to figure out Brian Robinson or Chase Brown. Now, it's honestly, it's a tough one. It really is. I'm leaning towards Robinson, but you could go Brown. It's a real tough one. Brown will catch more passes. If the Bengals get up, I just think this is kind of a Zach Moss game, to be honest with you. You have a really good pass rush with the Raiders and a terrible offense. So I can see if the Bengals get down and they want to throw the ball, they're going to use Moss in pass protection. But Chase Brown, they really liked him more than Moss. I'm maybe it's because I have too much of a man crush on Zach Moss. I don't know. I can tell you this: I wouldn't play Connor against the Bears defense, though. Another thing is I would play Downs and I would play London. But yeah, I would do this. You got to get a win, get Aaron Jones, and then what you're looking at next week is you have your 6 running backs. You're going to try to make a move for a legit wide receiver 1, but you're also going to bank on Debo coming back strong. Downs ideally has a very, very good game. You may be in a situation where you can move Downs and somebody else, and maybe get somebody who's really, really solid wide receiver number one. Let's see what's available. By the way, even though I won't be live next week, I will. You can still get in touch with me. I have some stuff in the community tab. I have some stuff that you can communicate with me. You can also DM me on the social media, or go old school and email me. Dave, I got Addison, Bajans, Jacobs, Ingram, Javante in flex, Aubrey, Chiefs D. On the bench, I have Leggett, Kraft, Pickens, Debo. Brees Hall kind of lucked out with that trade. Dan Hall didn't do much. He didn't. I actually was expecting a big game. I'm sorry about that. But John Robinson, I am expecting a big game. I said this last weekend. Really, really kind of screwed me. Javante, Jacobs could have a huge game if Love plays. Would you still go Addison over Leggett for wide receiver number 2? I would, and listen, here's why I would, Dave. If I remember correctly here, you got 42. All right? You got 42. Leggett's a kind of a boomer bust. You have no idea. Look, like, you got Bryce Young, you have a good defense. The kid from Holy Cross, I'm drawing a complete blank on his name, an undrafted rookie free agent's playing well. You also got Chuba Hubbard, who's playing really, really well as well. I mean, if I'm Carolina in this game, I want to keep the scoring low and give my quarterback a chance late in the game to make some plays. Look, you're going against a bad defense. You have a better offensive coaching staff, quarterback, everything. The only thing I would worry about is, you have a really good defense going against a backup quarterback in Joe Flacco, even though Flacco should be starting, and he will for the rest of the year. There is a chance Minnesota gets up like 24-3, and you see a lot of Aaron Jones. I've drawn a blank on the backup running back is, and Addison gets like 3 catches, 25 yards. That's like worst case scenario. But you have such an unknown. Look, you got an opportunity. You got 42 already. Let's go for some surefire points. That way, you get to win this week. After this week, you kind of reassess the Leggett situation. But I would go to steady points in Addison because I like Minnesota to win pretty comfortably, but I like them more to put up some points. There's a chance that Leggett and Carolina scores 3 points. It's much more like, this is going to sound a little nuts, it's much more likely Carolina's going to put less than 10 than Minnesota's going to put up 30. Like, I think it's pretty safe to say Minnesota's going to put up about, over 25 pretty easily. It's a safe bet to say Carolina definitely is going to put up under 20. So, go with the law of averages. You already got some points on the board. So, this would be a situation where I'd like to see it just get some sure and steady points. If you had a bad week, I would maybe go Leggett. You have a higher ceiling. So, yeah, I'd still go Addison. In your situation, I really wouldn't. I'll be honest with you. You could go Leggett if you want. Um, I'm sorry. Are you looking to pick up? No, I really like what you have here. I really like what you have here. I'll be honest with you. I think Pickens going forward could be a legit number one. Um, I really like Leggett. Debo Samuel. I mean, if he's healthy after, um, if he's healthy after the bye, I mean, you got a chance here to really do some good things here. I mean, you got a chance to do some really good things after the bye. I would hold on to just everything that you have right now. I mean, even though Addison's a number two last year, he scored 10 touchdowns. Remember, Vikings went through 5 different quarterbacks. He missed the first few weeks of the season, but he's a very solid number two. But you got some really good number ones on your bench with Pickens and Debo. Look, these two guys come back after the bye. If these two guys are healthy and ready to go, you're in really good shape, Dave. All I want to see you do is win this week. If you win this week, you get two legitimate number ones fresh off a bye, and Debo's healthy. You're in really really good shape, and you got some really good players. You got some really good players. So I would not do anything right now for your roster barring injury. Like I said, I won't be live next week, but I'll be able to. You can stay in touch with me. Let me know how you do. Rest of the season, do you like Hunt or Tyrone Tracy? All right. I'm a Chiefs fan, and I love what Kareem Hunt's doing, but rest of the season, I like Tyrone Tracy, and the reason why is they have this guy CEH who's been inactive the last several weeks. I'm not sure the whole situation, but he's a former first round pick the Chiefs like. That he's missed the last several games, non-football injury. I don't know the whole story. He's not going to play on Monday night, but he could come back. I think the Chiefs are pleased as punch with Kareem Hunt, but he's not a home run threat. Tyrone Tracy is. Tyrone Tracy, a former receiver. I really thought Kareem. So when Kareem Hunt's first stint in Kansas City, he caught a lot more passes. He hasn't been really used in the passing game. Tyrone Tracy, a former receiver, you can. Isaiah Pacheco, ideally in the next couple of weeks, comes back. CEH could come back. You have some options there if you're Kansas City. I think Tyrone Tracy's going to be a lock, barring injury, for the rest of the season to get 15 to 20 touches, and he's a home run threat. That's something Kareem Hunt absolutely is not. I'll be honest with you. I had to play either one for this week, even though I like guys for Monday night. I would probably go Tyrone Tracy. I probably would go Tyrone Tracy. David does not play. If David does not play, Tillman is a must start. I really think that whether Njoku, I almost think if Njoku plays, it helps Tillman. But I think either way, I think Tillman. Keep in mind, this is a guy that I really liked coming out of Tennessee. I really liked him a lot. I thought Tennessee had some really good receivers. I was really high on. Jalen Hyatt, who's doing nothing with the Giants, was a guy I thought could have been a late first round pick. They got him in the third, done nothing. I have no idea why. I watched him have 5 touchdowns against Alabama. So like, how do you not? And big strong pass. It just whatever reason. They had some other receivers that also really liked, but Yeah, I remember when they traded for Jerry Jeudy, my thought process was kind of same situation with Jalen Wyatt in New York, where has all the physical tools. Look, Wyatt to me was more impressive than Tillman, but both these guys excelled at Tennessee. Um, I like their coach. Drawing a complete blank on his name, former Oklahoma quarterback. He won a national championship there. They beat Florida State. They were 14-point dogs, and I was like, they're going to win this game, and I was right. So I kind of have a soft spot for them. So I kind of pull for Tennessee a little bit. I'm not really a Vols fan, but by the way, if Oklahoma doesn't start turning things around, don't be surprised if Oklahoma tries to get them back. Was it Josh something? But it's kind of funny because I remember he was like 180 pounds, and he was trying constantly to put on weight, and he got drafted. If I remember right, he was a 7th-round pick of the Dolphins. Only last like a year or two. Needed to put on weight. Now he's like almost 300 pounds. It's kind of comical, but anyway, yeah, I like Tillman. Keep in mind, tough matchup against tough Chargers defense. Very tough matchup. The Chargers have a very good defense. I mean, I'm excited to watch this game. Very excited to watch this game. George C., what's up, brother? Trade Amon-Ra for A.J. Brown and a half PPR. God, that's a great question. So George, I say this a lot. I think you've been in the chat before. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you have. But if you're new, please hit the subscribe button. I've used this phrase a lot. It's kind of what's your favorite flavor, chocolate or strawberry, and that's kind of what I see here. I'm gonna level with you. As a player, I like AJ Brown better. In a PPR league, I like Amon-Ra better, just slightly, but I would not blame you at all if you made this trade. The reason why is that you have a team with better. You have some injuries on the offensive line in Philly right now. Okay. Philly has a very good offensive line. I want to point that out. Detroit's probably a little bit better. In golf, you have an indoor stadium and more of a pass-happy team. You have a new offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts' strength is not going back 50 times a game and ding, 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 ding. Where golf, that is their strength. I mean, they could go back. Now, keep in mind, both teams can run the ball. Both teams have, running back weapons. But golf can go back there 50 times a game and just pick you apart. Where Hurts, you're better if you can use his scrambling ability and stuff like that. In a half PPR league, you're going to get points. It's points per reception. Amon-Ra is much more likely to get 10 receptions in a game than A.J. Brown. Now, A.J. Brown's much more likely to have more yards and touchdowns. If you made the move, what you're banking on is more downfield, more yards, more touchdowns, more of a red zone target. But another thing I want you to consider is that Philly is an outdoor stadium. Detroit is indoors. All right. So let's just take a look at who they play against for the foreseeable future. Bear with me. Here it is. By the way, they played Green Bay at Green Bay in the beginning of November. Big plus. At Houston indoor, Jacksonville at home, at Indianapolis indoor. Thanksgiving, Chicago, tough defense, but at home. Home against Green Bay in December. That's on back-to-back Thursday night games. Rest home Buffalo. I don't know when your playoffs are, but at Chicago week 16, that could be a bad weather game. And then at San Francisco, December 30th, that's week 17. Maybe you're done with the playoffs. But you see what I'm saying? There's not a weather game coming up. All right. Not one. Not even the possibility of a weather game. All right. You go to the Eagles, let's take a look at what they have. And I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Jacksonville, it's at home. I didn't check the weather report. At Dallas, by the way, they may have Micah Parsons back. Washington on Thursday night, November 14th, you have no idea. Probably decent. At LA, probably decent. Oh, it is going to be decent. At Baltimore, no clue. Home against Carolina. Again, it's Philly, you never know. Home Pittsburgh, never know. At Washington, never know. Last two games of the season are at home, probably done. So, I mean, you have possible weather issues. Yeah, you have a team that's based more around running the ball. There's just a lot more positives in a PPR type of league, even a half PPR with Amon Ra. I think I seriously, if I was going to rate receivers in any type of PPR fashion, I would go in this order. I would go CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Chase, Amon Ra, and AJ Brown. If you said, hey, Dan, I like AJ Brown, I like the size, I like the athleticism, I like the upside, I'm gonna go with it. I wouldn't blame you one bit, and it may be a good trade for you. I like Amon Ra a little better. So let me know what you end up doing, brother. Let me know what you end up doing. But I would, if you have Amon Ra, I would hold on to him. Oduze, Moore, Demario Douglas, Quentin Johnson, Tolbert, Wicks, Slayton are all available on the waiver wire. Any of these guys better than Addison or Leggett? I don't think so. I mean, I can understand Oduze. I would have told you at the beginning of the season, maybe Quentin Johnston, but not now. They're really going with Vlad McConkey, even though I said no. Tolbert's a guy that should. Slayton's a possibility. But I would hold on to those two guys. I really would. I think you're in good, Dave. I really think you're in good shape. I really think you're in good shape. A Manster 2-3. I apologize. I'm behind on comments, so I'm sorry it took so long to get to you. I need to start 2 PPR: Dobbins, Tracy, Chase Brown, Ridley. I would normally start Dobbins, but he's against Cleveland. Zach Moss is doubtful, so I'm thinking Brown and Tracy, and I like your logic. I forgot Zach Moss showed up on the injury report. Tracy cleared concussion protocol, so I think he's a solid one. And Chase Brown, yeah, I like your logic. Let me know what you do, but we're on the same page. And I hope to hear from you again. A Manster 2-3. I won't be live next week, but I will be posting stuff in the community tab, and might be able to get a video out. Plus, I will be available on after Monday Night Football. I'll be doing Chiefs Bucks live. So hopefully I see you on Monday night, but I won't be doing Afternoon Delight next week. I'm not a big fan of Debo game. He's not good enough at catching the receiver. Big enough. It's weird. It's funny because I think that they're going to use him a little as a running back, so he's going to get some touches. And then he's not like a great pure receiver, but they're going to use him a lot. I think with Ayuk being out for the year, I think he's solid. I think he's, to be honest with you, I do think he's a low end 1 or a top wide receiver 2 in fantasy. He's a guy that I think is going to get a lot of touches here on out, and he's healthy too. So Emmanuel Wilson is on waivers. Should I pick him up? Zach Moss, because I think Wilson's played better than Josh Jacobs at times. It's funny because I actually, he's one of those few guys that like I didn't really know about. And another thing that I really, so they drafted, I'm looking at, I don't remember this off the top of my head, but I remember Marshawn Lloyd. Okay, he was a 3rd-round pick. I thought I was right. I really thought there was a good chance Marshawn Lloyd would eat into some carries, not Emmanuel Wilson. I'm not going to lie to you, Jeff. I think he's looked better too. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, but when I come back, I'm going to answer this. And all your questions, I will not leave until I answer every single question. Stay tuned. Give me a quick commercial break. I'll be back shortly with more Afternoon Delight. Stay tuned. As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video is in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. The award-winning NFL Week 9 picks video is out. Make sure you check it out. Not now, we're on commercial break, but after the show's over, check it out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to give me the thumbs up and ring the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming great videos and live streams. Now back to some more Afternoon Delight. I'm here. I'm sorry. Listen, I wanted to get some coffee. I'm drinking an energy drink. I normally don't do energy drinks and coffee, but I wanted to get some coffee. It's a little chilly here in beautiful Las Vegas today. It's a little chilly, so I wanted to get some coffee. I apologize. I have a pot of coffee off to the side, but you're right. You're right. He's actually played better. I thought he's faster. One thing about Josh Jacobs is that I wasn't really sure how he would fit in the Green Bay offense. He's a perfect guy, tackle to tackle, not much of a receiving threat. He's not a home run dude. Wilson looks like he has a little bit of speed, a little bit of burst. Another thing is that I pick him? Yeah, because another thing, Zach Moss, I kept on thinking he would be the main guy. I really thought he would be the main guy. I saw an injury report. He's doubtful with a neck injury. That's just kind of tricky. For those of you talking about Chase Brown, this may be a big time week to start Chase Brown. I was going to say you may be, kind of risking some surefire points, but Moss might not play, and they may decide that going forward. I mean, this is something I'm kind of going to monitor because if he has a big game, Zach Moss may be relegated to maybe 5 touches a game from here on out. I don't hate this, and you're right. At times he has. It's going to be very interesting because I'm not sure if Malik Willis is going to play or not. I didn't have a chance to look at that before, but no, I don't hate this at all. Sizu, what is up? How is life in the U.S.? It is going very, very well. Things are very, very good. Sizu, I have some things happening here. So next week I will not be on, but I will be posting a few things on the community tab. I will also be still active in the community. I just won't be on live. Also, the election is Tuesday. I've the last couple of years, this country's really been kind of divided. It's an interesting time in American history because it's so much divided. It's not like this guy's good and this guy's bad. Girl, but it's a lot of people feel like the girl's bad, the guy's good, the guy's good, the girl's bad. I don't want to dive into politics, but it's a crazy time in the history of the United States. I actually might be putting action down on the election. Haven't decided yet. Here to help, brother. Missing Higgins and DK this week, so I have to start Hill and Hopkins. I hate it. Okay, not that bad of an option here. Okay, Tua with Tyreek Hill is interesting. You have the potential. Okay, you have the potential now. Last week against Arizona, 6 catches, 72 yards. Wasn't used in the running game, but 6 catches, 72 yards. Okay, that's not terrible. Not great. Look, you got to put up some points against Buffalo. You have to put up some points against Buffalo. Who's your best playmaker? Who's your best playmaker? It's Tyreek Hill. I said this last week and I was wrong, but I do think Hopkins will score. And here's another thing I want you to think about. You have you get to play somebody on Monday night. And your running backs are Henry and Jones. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Daniels will play. Don't worry about it. He'll play. So I have the following flex options: Rachaad White, Brown, or Pollard. These are good ones. With the Zach Moss injury, I'm leaning towards Brown. Pollard's a three down back that I really, really, really like. Rachaad White could have a lot of catches against Kansas City, but I would really go with Brown. Keep in mind, the Raiders have a good defense. I think the Patriots defense may be slightly better. Keep in mind, I would not be surprised if Pollard gets over 20 touches. Pollard has good speed. Brown has better. Another thing you have to think about with Pollard is what else do the Titans have? Like if I'm New England, I'm thinking to myself, I want the backup quarterback to beat me. So I'm stacking the box. I'm taking Pollard away, and then, hey, beat me with Ridley. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I would put Gonzalez on Ridley the entire game. With Brown, you can't do that. And that's kind of why Brown's been getting some more touches, is because you can spread the field out. Even without Higgins, you still have some other receiver options. You got to worry about Chase. You got Gesicki's been playing well also. So Brown also, by the way, I mean, you only need like one play out of Brown. I can make the same case about Pollard. White is more than likely you're in the PPR league. I can see Rachaad White having like 5 to 8 catches. But, I mean, look, you have to start these two. I would go with Brown. And the reason why you want to go with Brown is, look, these two guys are solid. I think Brown's the guy that could be the most – has the most upside. I really do. So I think listen, this is not bad, man. This is not bad. Hill and Hopkins. You had a guy on Monday night. You can double dip on Monday night and go Rachaad White, which is a little fun. I would lean toward Brown. With Zach Moss being out, this could be a situation where he gets 20 touches and he only needs to be the big play guy once. So if you have a backup quarterback, I'll be honest. I think he'll play and I think he'll be fine. I really, really, really do. But let's go to ESPN. Let's just take a look. It's not the best. Jaden Daniels is not even on the injury report per ESPN. I wish he would stop running the ball so damn much, but I think he'll be fine. I think you're in good shape, Sizu. I really do. Stay in touch with me, man. Let me know. Let me know how you do. By the way, I won't be live next week, but I'll have some stuff available in the community tab, and I could be putting out a video. We'll see. Brian, what's up, man? I'm terrible at names, so I apologize in advance. Tapiador, BT, if you don't mind. Also, I don't recognize the very awesome name, so if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Look, man, I'm always a fan of a 3-down back. This is a PPR league. You have to go with Tracy. If it's a non-PPR league, I honestly would still go with Tracy. I'm not sold on Washington's defense. I know that they've been putting up good numbers. I know they have a good record. I'm not sold on them. I'm just not. The Chargers defense, on the other hand, is good. I would go with Tillman over Judy. PPR league, I'm always going to take a 3-down back, especially one with home run speed. If you don't know the story, he's a former receiver turned running back. I really like the kid, and I think he's going to have a big game. Let me know what you end up doing. Brian, I'd rather you not take my advice and win than take my advice and lose. But I would go Tyrone Tracy. Let me know what you end up doing, brother. Gatelin, what's up, brother? What do you think about my Wilson, Brian Thomas for CD? You have to give up both? All right, so listen, you're in a situation of selling high after that catch of the year. You have to give up both? Can you give me a little more information, Gatelin? I will answer your question. I apologize. I'm behind, but give me a little more information. I don't give. Look, I'm a fan of selling high, so this is the time to sell Garrett Wilson, but I don't want you to sell too. Let me give me a little more information, man, because I remember. I remember you in the chat. I don't remember specifically your lineup, or at least it's drawn a blank to me. But I mean, look, I've an energy drink and coffee and water here, so let me know. Yeah, I you know what? I would have told you last week no, because I didn't know about Manuel Wilson until a couple weeks ago, and I really liked Marshawn Lloyd coming out of USC. I thought it was a smart draft pick because I really thought there was a chance Lloyd may be able to do some of the things that Emmanuel Wilson's doing. I really liked him coming out of USC. I didn't even know about this kid. I would have told you, nah, don't do it, but they really like Chase Brown, and he's not going to play this week. And by the way, I mean, you're right. Like, he just looks faster. He's going to. I really think he's going to get more touches going on. I like the movement. I can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, I like it. I think you should. I seriously, I want to argue this because I am a big Zach Moss fan. I love the guy at Utah. I thought he was playing really well with the Colts. I thought it was a smart move by the Bengals. I was pro Zach Moss, and I kept on saying, no, you want to give him more carries. He's a bigger back. Chase Brown's small, but that's not the way they're going, and he may not play. A neck injury is weird. You know, hey, look, there's also a reason why, you know, in his short NFL career, he's been on 3 teams. Sometimes I watch a player in college and I fall in love with him, and I have a hard time admitting that he's not the same guy in the pros. That's kind of what I'm looking at with Zach Moss, as much as I hate to admit it. But yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, I agree. I think it's a smart move. Let me know what you do, Jeff. Ontario Flores. Um, I love the name, man. Let me do me a favor, because I don't recognize you just right off the top of my head, but if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Trade Stroud, Waddle for Dobbins and Hurts. Yes. I love this move, actually, and I'll tell you why. I watched Stroud get beat up quite a bit, and I think the world of Stroud. I really do. Kenyon Green's out for the year. This was a guy coming out of Texas A&M. I thought was going to be a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman, and he's not playing well. His backup actually looked better, but they have some legitimate problems with their offensive line. I mean, real legitimate problems, and they play their best when they run the ball. So I, as much as I hate to say it, I like Hurts more than Stroud. I mean, Hurts has more weapons, more of a running threat. Stroud, really underrated runner. And one of the things I love about Stroud is that he has the ability to run, but he's not a run first quarterback. Where Hurts, I think, is more likely to run. But I mean, 15 rushing touchdowns last year. I mean, you know, you have some ability to run the ball. But Dobbins for Waddle, I love. I mean, I've said this a lot. I would not be surprised if Dobbins stays healthy for the whole year. He leads the NFL in rushing yards. I really believe that. I know, like, it sounds comical because Derrick Henry is like a 400-yard lead. I get that, but I love Dobbins. And now this week against tough Browns team may not be the best matchup, but Dobbins is a home run threat, and he's a powerful dude. I'm a big fan of Dobbins, so I think you win on both. If this is a trade you're thinking about, I would fully endorse it. If you got offered this trade, pull the trigger. Stroud didn't do much on Thursday night, so you probably can't make this trade till Monday if I'm correct. If you have the ability to do it over the weekend, do it. And maybe I mean, I'm assuming if you had Stroud, you didn't play him. My guess would be you may. I don't know if you have the ability to make this trade happen, but I'd probably start Hurts depending on your lineup. But yeah, let me know what you end up doing. My wide receiver matchup, my Hopkins against Chase. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, look at my shirt. Of course, I'm gonna tell you play Mahomes. Yeah, if you want to go with Daniels, I wouldn't blame you. If you wanted to go with Mahomes, I wouldn't blame you either. Oh God, yeah. You know, seriously, yeah, I wouldn't blame you for going Daniels, but you may have to. I mean, I'm gonna level with you. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, you have more upside with Mahomes. You really do. I mean, you really do. But the one thing about Kansas City is that they're more of a defensive running team. So I mean, go with Daniels, but you do have a tough. It sounds like you got a tough matchup, but I'm going to level with you from what I'm looking at. I mean, listen, both these guys are going to have really, really, really good games. You have some really good flex options, and Tyreek Hill could have a monster game. This is a good question. This is a great question, Jeffrey, and me and you are both pulling for Winston. I really like Bo Nix this week. I really do. I put some action on Baltimore, Denver. I put action on the over. If you're not familiar with sports betting, you can bet the over or under on the total points of the two teams combined. So I checked the weather report. It's going to be a perfect day in Baltimore. It's like 70 and sunny. Baltimore has one of the worst scoring defenses, but they're averaging over 30 points a game. Okay. Bo Nix the last couple of weeks has been playing really well. I know you're going on the road. Traditionally, Baltimore has a tough defense. I would go with Bo Nix, and the reason why is that the Chargers this year have a good defense. The Ravens do not. I like the way Nix has been playing. I really do. I mean, look, you still have a lot of unknown in Winston. I mean, I know Bo Nix is a rookie. I know Baltimore's going to be a tough place to play. Bo Nix has some running ability, but I like Nix. I would play Nix. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, I would play Nix, man. Okay. All right. So you don't need Brian Thomas Jr. come next week. Minnesota at Jacksonville. Okay, Jacksonville's a week 12 bye. So, I mean, I just have a hard time. Brian Thomas Jr. I think has just been playing lights out. He's not in the chat today, but my buddy Perry has been raving about Brian Thomas Jr. since March. This is a guy that just has crazy, crazy, crazy upside. Selling Wilson high makes a lot of sense. I have Hurts, Amon-Ra, Wilson, Kyron, Bowers, Brian Thomas. I mean, that's a really good lineup. That's a really, really, really good lineup. Can't bank on CMC. I mean, your lineup's solid. I mean, look, I get the logic behind it. I mean, I'm looking at Amon-Ra. I'm looking at Brian Thomas. I'm looking at Wilson. I'm looking at some solid guys. I mean, you could. I think as a player, I think Chase is better than CeeDee Lamb. But I think in fantasy football, I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb. And I get the logic behind it, man. I mean, you're just giving I don't like you're giving away two number one receivers to get a number one when you got Amon-Ra already. I get the logic behind it, but what I wouldn't do the 2-for-1. You could, by the way, you can go either or. I mean, you could go either or here. You can go with CD, you can go Chase. It's like I've said many times. You've heard me say this. It's what's your favorite flavor? Chocolate or strawberry. I think CD Lamb's better than Chase in fantasy. I think Chase is. If I had to choose, like, I don't know how old you are, but remember back in the day, I don't know if they do this now or not, but you on recess, everybody, you pick team captains, everybody line up on the wall, and you say, "Give me." Do you remember doing that? Yeah, I don't know how old you are, but if I was doing that, I would pick Chase over CD. If I'm playing fantasy football, I would take CD Lamb. That's how I would do it. Um, But if you decided that you wanted Chase instead, I wouldn't blame you. And you can't bank on CMC at all. So I mean, I get the logic here. I mean, your lineup's solid, man. I mean, Hurts ideally can put up. I mean, the defense is bad in Jacksonville. What I'm worried about is like a blowout and where they're just kind of running the ball and milking the clock. The thing is, though, with this trade, I just think you can get more. I mean, get somebody else. I mean, just for the fun of it. If they've nothing, even if you don't use the guy, get something else. You don't need to trade 2 number ones for one of the best without getting something in return. I don't know what your league's like. You may be in a league where people don't want to trade unless they feel like they're winning the trade, but I don't. I really don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking. I mean, I don't have your whole roster. If you sent it to me and I haven't got to it yet, let me know. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of leaning towards you just staying as is because yeah, Brian Thomas and Wilson are solid right now. I mean, it looks like you're doing really well. I get the logic. You want Amon-Ra, you want CD, you want Chase. I get it. I really do. Um, um, I don't like the move. I don't like doing a 2-for-1. You're substituting 2 legitimate wide receiver number ones for maybe a top tier wide receiver number one. I just think you can get a little more. Full disclosure, again, maybe people in your league don't want to trade. I understand. Brian Thomas Jr. is just crazy upside. I mean, if you're going to sell Wilson, I do agree with this. If you're going to sell Wilson, sell him now. But please don't bank on CMC coming back next week and being the same guy. He may not even play next week. He's just coming back to practice. He may not even play. I love Dameon Pierce, man. I love Dameon Pierce. I have no idea. I have no idea. I was actually thinking he was injured. I know earlier in the year he was banged up. Let's see here. I think he's just a healthy scratch, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not, and I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I loved him a couple years ago, and I don't have an answer. My guess is, and I'm just pure spitballing here. A lot of time, I know some teams have been doing this. So they have a player that's inactive because they want to move them. That's kind of my only. Wow, there's like a bump here on my elbow. I just found. It's never a good thing. You just find random bumps, but yeah. Normally, when you have an inactive player, it's on the trade block. Yeah, I loved him. What was it, last year, 2 years ago? I don't get it. Sisu, it's so crazy this week. Nico Collins, Dig, Godwin, DK, Higgins, watch Hopkins play. Sounds so crazy. Yeah, yeah. It's one thing about the NFL. You know, Galen, 100%. My social media links are in the description below. You can DM me on either Twitter or Instagram. Um, you can DM me. You can go old school. You can email me. dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. There's one guy, he's been emailing me on a regular basis for over the last month. You can do whatever one of those. Also, I'm going to have some stuff on the YouTube community tab. You can drop comments on this video, the community tab. There is a chance I'll have a short video coming out. I won't have the same weekly picks video that I've had coming out. I won't have that next week, but I may have something else coming out. So but I'll have some stuff in the YouTube community tab where you can drop comments and but yeah, hit me up on social media. I don't do TikTok yet, but I'm thinking about it. Yeah, and by the way, I'm pulling for CMC. It's just that I have no idea. And by the way, I mean, like, you can message me right now. I mean, that's the whole point of doing this, is that if you have questions, I have answers. I mean, I'm just looking at this lineup. I think you're solid as is, man. I mean, I don't know. Maybe something. Maybe I'm missing something, but I kind of like the way you have things set up as is. I really like Nix. If he can work on his footwork, I see him being the second best quarterback from the draft. I absolutely um I absolutely love Nix. I've been really, really impressed. The one thing about Nix that's completely different than Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams is that those two guys are running essentially college type offenses. Both those guys are using their legs a lot more than Nix. And by the way, Nix is scrambling and he's using his running ability, and he does have that. But the biggest difference between Nix and these other guys, Nix is running an NFL offense. Like, what he's doing is completely different than what Williams and Daniels is doing. It's not even the same thing. It's also different than what Drake May's doing. I see Drake May doing a lot of stuff, and it looks like what they did. And it's kind of interesting. I give Alex Van Pelt some credit, is that he's kind of changed his offensive scheme for Drake May. It looks like they're kind of running some different stuff. But the first three quarterbacks in the draft, it looks like they're running more college type offenses. All right. Nix is running an NFL offense. He's running a complex Sean Payton NFL offense. Sean Payton's not changing what he's doing to accommodate Nix. He's saying, you're going to run my scheme. And this is the same scheme that turned Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees looked really good when he was with the Chargers, but he went from looking really good to being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And it would not surprise me if 10 or 15 years from now, Nix is the best quarterback in this draft class. It would not surprise me at all. A matter of fact, even though I predicted, I can prove it. You can go through, you have to go through my playlist, but I predicted Jaden Daniels would win Rookie of the Year. I predicted that. I also recommended you put action on it. It was like plus 600, so you would have won 6 times your original investment. Um, I made only a $100 bet that so I didn't do any preseason bets. I recommended taking the under on Caleb Williams total passing yards 3,500, which I think will be under for the year. And then Jaden Daniels, and then there's a few over unders yearly win totals I also liked, but I didn't do any of those bets. Next year's a different story. We'll find out, but this year that's what I did. So yeah, it would not surprise me if 10, 15 years from now, Nick's is head and shoulders better than these guys. What he's doing is better set up for the future than what Daniels and Williams is doing. Now, full disclosure, I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to leave in the next year or two and take over a major college program or be an NFL head coach. Sean Payton's probably going to stay in Denver for a while. They're giving him a boatload of money, and they're also giving him a lot of control over what he can and can't do with the team. So I really think that you're going to have, Nix and Payton together for a long time. I think Kingsbury's going to leave in a year or two. Maybe when I say year, I'm talking the end of this year. And by the way, college programs are paying NFL type wages. Like if you're a Cliff Kingsbury, I'm sure he's being paid really well to be the offensive coordinator there in Washington. I'm sure he's not getting paid 10 to 15 million a year. And can he get 10 to 15 million a year from a major college program? The answer is yes. I'm looking at, remember Mississippi State had got one of my favorite coaches of all time. He passed away. Cliff Kingsbury played for him at Texas Tech, actually. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. I got him embarrassed about it. I can't think of it. I'm one of my favorite coaches in college football history. The inventor of basically the run and shoot, but Cliff Kingsbury played for him at Texas. He was at Mississippi State. He died, and Mississippi State's fallen apart. They would easily give Kingsbury, 10 to 15 million. Kingsbury took over for him at Texas Tech. He was able to recruit Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So I kind of see that. I love Michael Penix Jr. It's going to be a few years before we see him. Spencer Rattler has some potential. Don't get me wrong. But yeah. Yeah, both my social media links are below. Apparently, I didn't know this, but Instagram, somebody actually sent me a message just right before I came on the air, and I responded. Apparently, I think you have to send me a friend request or something like that. I'm not accusing you. I want to be very clear. I'm not accusing you of doing this. I'm just throwing this out there. Unfortunately, on Instagram, I got one comment from somebody I recognized from the chat, and then I got two corn requests, and anything corn related with the C. YouTube's kind of sensitive about that. Anything racy, I get sent, I delete, report, block. I don't have a sense of humor about this. So just giving you a fair warning. Don't, if you're sending me even like girls in bikinis, stuff like that, report, block, delete. So just be careful. I'm not accusing you of doing anything. I don't have a sense of humor about that. I've had buddies of mine think, oh, I'm gonna send this in, and I'm like, no, don't do that. don't do that. So, but yeah, you can send me Instagram or X, Twitter. I might set up a TikTok account. I'm leaning against TikTok, but I might. Gaitlin, you can comment any single one of my YouTube videos or live streams. You can comment on this live stream if you want, and I will get back to you. I don't want to quote you 24 hours because usually it's much faster. The only thing I tell you is that Sundays, I don't, computer, phone shut off. You won't get a hold of me on Sunday. But Saturday, I'll get back to you depending on what part of the world or country you live in. It could be Sunday morning, but if you message me Saturday night, I'll get back to you Sunday. So, IDK, welcome back, brother. DeAndre Swift, Monty, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London for flex. Oh man, that is a great question. That is a really great question. I have man crushes on all of these guys almost. I'm looking at DeAndre Swift, and last week he didn't have any catches, but he had 18, 129 and a score. The last couple of weeks, DeAndre Swift has been getting the last 4 weeks. DeAndre Swift's had 23, 21, and 18 touches. And he's a home run guy who in the last 4 weeks has had four games, 4 touchdowns. And he's a home run threat. Montgomery, if Love doesn't play, I think Montgomery will have over 15 touches. I think if Love does play, they like using Gibbs more. Okay. I'd rule London out completely. All right. Rule London out completely, even though I do think he has a good game. If Love doesn't play, I can see Montgomery going 15 to 20 touches. If Love doesn't play, or if Love does play, I think you'll get 10 to 15, some solid performances. I think the question is DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor. Now, Swift in a PPR league has a little more value. Swift and Taylor are both home run threats. Taylor, in my opinion, is the better player. I mean, I don't even question that. The issue is that the last game against Houston, 20 carries, 105, and a touchdown, 1 catch, 12 yards. Now this is he's got some rest, so he's possibly a little more fresh. One thing about Swift, he's not really that guy you want to give the ball 20 to 25 times every single week. I noticed they're trying to get Rashawn Johnson in there a little more. Now, matchup wise, you have a tough one because DeAndre Swift against Arizona, I like a lot more than I like Indianapolis against Minnesota. Minnesota at home, really tough defense. Arizona, defensive performance kind of been all over the place. With Flacco as the quarterback, you can't stack the box. I have no idea how Arizona is going to attack Caleb Williams. But it comes down to Swift or Taylor. And IDK, you've heard me say this. I'm so glad you're a part of this community. I'm really glad to see your comments. I love seeing the chat. So you've heard me say this: what's your favorite flavor, chocolate or strawberry? There's no wrong answer. It's just what's your personal preference. I love Jonathan Taylor. We're playing the old school, picking guys from the fence to be on my team. It's Jonathan Taylor. I'm not even thinking twice about it. I also like playing guys late, playing these guys on prime time. I really, really like it. So I'm personal preference, I might lean towards Jonathan Taylor. Swift has a better matchup, and over the last couple of weeks, he's been more productive. Now, one thing about Swift is he's not a big dude, and he's been getting a lot of touches. Is this the week where Rashawn Johnson eats into that? I'm not really sure. They're playing Rashawn Johnson a little more in Chicago. Smart too. So it's a real tough option here, but the answer is Swift or Taylor. I would lean PPR. You get more value for Swift. He's been the more productive guy. He has a better matchup. I like playing guys on prime time. Taylor's the better player. Tough matchup against the Vikings defense. And full disclosure, if I'm Minnesota, by the way, if you're not familiar with the Vikings, what they like to do is play a lot of 6-man fronts and then get very creative with their blitz packages, and they do blitz a lot, and it's a very difficult defense. Now, Flacco being a veteran will have some success, but I also think he'll have some failures. The one problem is that it's hard to defend or it's hard to run the ball against a 6-man front. And if I'm Minnesota, I try to take the running game away, use my creative blitz packages to cause problems for Flacco. And in order for the Colts to have a chance, they have to throw the ball in order to win the game. So Jonathan Taylor is not really used in the passing game as much. I would probably, if it was me personally, I might lean towards Taylor just because I like him so much. But honestly, Swift's the better play. Swift really is the better play. I'm being honest with you. If this was my team, I would probably go with Taylor just because I like the prime time. And as much as I love Swift's upside, Taylor's is slightly higher, even though Taylor's not the same type of receiver. Swift's hands down the better receiver, like not even close. But Taylor just has a crazy upside. Yeah. If you're in a full PPR league, Swift's the better option. I just really, really, really like it. Galen, I would get on board with that. I would get on board with that a little more. And here's the deal: like after you make that move, you're instantly trying to make a move for Devontae and trying to get another running back. That would work. That would work. That would work. I like that a lot better. Is this viable, or are you just spitballing? Let me know, man. Let me know, because that's not bad, especially with Amon-Ra. So you get two legitimate number ones. You have a solid backup in Devontae, and somebody gets hurt, and then I want you to parlay the Devontae. Maybe you can get a running back. Just in case CMC's not back. I mean, Williams, I think, is going to have a very good game, though. NFL casual, great question. Oh, God, this is a good one. Rank these quarterbacks for this week: Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. Okay, great question. Josh Allen's number one. Okay, Josh Allen has it's something crazy. It's like 13-1 against Miami. It's something insane. And it's something like 10 or 11 straight. And he's had some all-time great fantasy games against Miami, like all-time great games. Because you have Tua and you have an explosive offense, you're not going to get grief for running up the score. They've done that before. They won earlier, 31-10. Josh Allen didn't have a great game, but they still put up 31. I would say Josh Allen against Miami is number one. The other three are really, really tough. Really, really, really tough. Okay. Lamar Jackson's going against a really tough Broncos defense. That of all the teams, Lamar Jackson's going against who I think has the toughest defense. All right. I mean, that's not a debate. That said, at home with his skill set, I would still put him at number 2. I watched him in a loss against the Chiefs run for 122. All these quarterbacks are excellent runners. Lamar Jackson, I think, is the most likely to get to 100 because I don't think any one of these, of all the quarterbacks listed, Lamar Jackson's the most likely to run for 100. All 4 of these are excellent runners. Okay. All 4 of these are excellent runners. Lamar Jackson is the one that's the best runner. With Deontay Johnson, even though I don't think he's a valuable option, you have some targets receiving. You have a legit number 1 in Flowers. You have some tight ends. Lamar Jackson in that offense is putting up over 30 points a game. Tough matchup against Denver. Tough matchup. I understand. I still would put Lamar Jackson at number 2. Jalen Hurts goes, in my opinion, Jacksonville just has a garbage defense. The reason why I have Hurts at 3 is because I could see Philly just blowing Jacksonville out and throttling things down. I really could. The more points Jacksonville scores, the better Hurts is. If Jacksonville puts up over 20, Hurts might be number 1 or number 2. I could see Jacksonville just falling apart, doing something like 13 points. And in that case, Hurts is going to throw the ball 15 times. He's going to hand off to Saquon. They're going to put some backups in. That's why I got him at 3. I know Jaden Daniels at 4 sounds absolutely ridiculous. New York off a short week, losing. I know this is not a popular opinion, but their best offensive player was Andrew Thomas. I mean, he was looking phenomenal. I mean, he was looking really, really, really good. He looked like possibly the best left tackle in football. He looked that good. And with him going down, a lot of people are, paying attention to Neighbors and Tyron Tracy, and they should. But, I mean, look, last time Jaden Daniels played New York, I mean, I really do. I really, really believe this. I really believe that he's a legitimate MVP quarterback. 226, no touchdowns. 44 yards rushing, no touchdowns in a 21-18 win. You could say things have changed. Sure. He's a little banged up. Here's the deal. I don't want to sound like I'm anti Jaden Daniels, but when I look, I just fantasy football wise, I would put Allen and Jackson 1 and 2. Hurts and Daniels, I have no idea. I would say Hurts is going against a much worse defense. Jaden Daniels didn't do lights out against New York at home. You're on the road. That's my thought process. So I would go Allen 1, Jackson 2, Hurts 3, Daniels 4. But I'll be honest with you, I think it's Allen 1 because Allen against Miami has been doing like just crazy. Matter of fact, here, bear with me here. Bear with me, NFL Casual, because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. So just please bear with me for a few minutes here. Just bear with me. I know he didn't do well. By the way, I mean, they won 31-10. Okay. I mean, they won 31-10, but, just do me a favor here. Just bear with me a moment here. I want to look at some of these games he had against Miami. Let's go last year. Miami at home, 21 out 25, 320, 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he also got 1 on the ground. 5 total touchdowns last year. That's it. Do I need to go any more? 5 touchdowns last year. Here's what he did against Miami last year in Buffalo. 21 out of 25, 320, 4 touchdowns. Ran the ball 4 times for 17 yards and another touchdown. 48-20 victory with a Miami Dolphins defense that was better. That's my logic. You could disagree with me. I'm not going to be mad at you if you disagree with me, but I like Josh Allen against Miami. If you have the option for these 4, if you do any sort of fantasy football play, I want to let you know that the play is Josh Allen against Miami. Jeffrey, you're preaching to the choir, brother. Caleb Williams to me he went to the wrong place. Yeah, a guy that paints his nails and wears dresses in a Midwest town is tough. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Chicago's a tough sports town, but if you win, you're gold. But if you don't win, that's a problem. And I mean, you're in the playoff hunt right now, but you finished 9-8. I think you need a minimum of. There's going to be a 10-win team in the NFC that's outside of the playoffs. I firmly believe that. So, I mean, yeah. Bears fans, as long as he wins, but he would have been better off going to a I'm going to kind of watch my words here. I think I can say it and I'll be okay. I'm going to say liberal, you can say progressive, some place like, California, even like it's much more accepted in New York than it would be in Chicago. But yeah, he's got to win. You got to win. And another thing about Chicago is that they didn't do him any favors. Like the offensive line needs some help. The defense is world class. I mean, it really is. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. When I come back, hour 3 with Afternoon Delight, so stay tuned. As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video's in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. The award-winning NFL Week 9 picks video is out. Make sure you you check it out. Not now, we're on commercial break, but after the show's over, check it out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to give me the thumbs up and ring the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming great videos and live streams. Now back to some more Afternoon Delight. All right. Hour 3. Yes. All right. So since I've moved the Vegas, I moved in February. So in February, it was a little chilly in the beginning, but for the most part, I haven't had to deal with being cold. And it hit 120 several times during the summer out here. So it's a very different situation being cold in this condo. It's wildly different. So, all right, all questions are going to be answered. I am not leaving till I answer every single question. But the show is designed to be a 3-hour show, so I'm going to try to do my best to answer every question within a 3-hour parameter. Since I will not be, I'm not going to be live next week, but you will have access. You can drop a comment in any one of my videos, live streams. You can also DM me on social media. You can go old school. You can email me, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. All that information is listed below. Patrick, welcome back, brother. PPR stash 1 and rank: Rondo, Corum, Davis, Herbert, Coker, Williams, some for potential trades. I'm everybody ranks them different. But I think Herbert's easily number 1. The last couple of weeks he's been throwing the ball a lot more. And I think you're going to kind of see that. The one thing I really believe that there could be a time where the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL are Herbert and Mahomes. I said that, and I thought that Harbaugh going to the Chargers would kind of hinder Herbert. I also thought there was a very small chance, and by the way, this could happen. The Chargers make some blockbuster trade Herbert and bring in more of a game manager type. I kind of don't think it will happen, but the Chargers don't have a really good organization. They really don't. You can kind of go throughout the history of the Chargers and see they've done some things like that. I can go back to Drew Brees. They drafted Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, I think, will be a future Hall of Famer. Is he better than Drew Brees? No. And if they would have kept Brees, they could have kept Marty Schottenheimer. They had LaDainian Tomlinson. They had a really good defense. You never know. But Herbert for me would be 1. Like I think that you have a quarterback with massive potential. I think he's easily 1. That's not even, in my opinion, it's not even close. Now the others you got to bank on. Mike Williams, I think, will be traded soon. It's just a question of who wants him. I'm kind of looking at Tampa specifically. I think he'd be a great fit for Tampa. Coker's interesting, but I think it's more just a great story. I'm drawing a complete blank on Davis. I'm assuming Demario Davis. Not overly high on him. Corum's a guy I loved in college, and if Kyron Williams goes down, Corum is going to start getting. Corum's already starting to get a few touches, but if Kyron Williams goes down, Corum is I think a low end potential low end number one running back, maybe a running back number two. But like he's somebody that Williams goes down, you can start Corum and you'll get a lot of production. Garondo's a guy I just fell in love with, and I know Gatelin has CMC, and a lot of people have CMC, and a lot of people are hoping that he'll come back, and I'm pulling for CMC, but I'm not buying it. Grondo's a guy I really think that after this bye could be a guy to get 10 to 15 touches. He's got home run speed and size. If you want me to rank these guys 1 through 6, I would go in this. I would go Herbert, Grondo, Corum, and then I'm not going to rank the other 3 because it's really just personal preference. Williams has the most talent. I like Coker the most. I'm not a big Demario Davis guy. A solid dude, just in in a PPR league. There's just a lot of other guys I'd want to go after. Neither Grondo or Corum are huge threats to catch the ball. At least neither one of them really did it in college. But, if you have the option of picking up Herbert, I would do it because they're throwing the ball more in LA. I don't think he's going to have a good game against the Browns defense, but he could be a guy that you get. And here's a drill. He's going to have a big game sooner or later, and that's what you want to do is when he has a big game, sell him. If you don't start him yourself, I have no idea who your starting quarterback is. But I probably, I don't blame you. It's so hard because I have such a man crush on him. These are like, by the way, as far as running backs go, these are like both Swift and Taylor are 2 of my biggest crushes ever. Like 2 of my favorite players coming out of college. 2 of the players I loved watching at the combine. The only reason I kind of say Taylor too is that Swift's not a big dude, and we were looking at his touches, and was it 5 straight weeks of over 20 touches in a row? And then I did watch a little of the game. I had the Sunday ticket, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I did see some Rashawn Johnson. Rashawn Johnson is a guy. He was a 4th round pick. He was on the Texas team with the John Robinson, and he kind of got screwed over because here's a guy that if he was on maybe any other team in the country, he's the undisputed number 1 running back, and he's probably a 2nd round pick. He had that type of inability, but you're on the same team with the John Robinson. You're the number 2 guy, and most NFL teams and myself believe that if you're the number 2 guy in college, you're probably not going to be the number 1 guy in the NFL. It's not like a receiving core where you can have, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and, the number 2 guy in college could be the number 1 guy in the NFL. It's usually not like that with running backs. Usually. Not always. But yeah, Rashawn Johnson's a guy with a lot of ability and a lot of talent. But Swift's clearly the number 1 dude. That's another thing is that, when is the production going to drop down? Because if you watch in Philly, you remember when he was at Philly last year, first couple of weeks of the league, first couple of weeks of the year, he looked like an MVP, and they kept on using him less and less and less and less. And I think it's part of the issue is he just kind of wore down. He's not a big dude. So But yeah, I don't blame you. I will be paying attention because I love both Swift and Jonathan Taylor. They're two of my favorite players in football. Love them both. Came out same year. Came out the same year. They were my two. It was funny. They were actually my two favorite running backs. I had them 1A and 1B. I wanted Swift in Kansas City because he has the ability to catch the ball. Jonathan Taylor in Wisconsin, they didn't really throw him the ball that much. So, but he's a much better receiver than I thought. But the Colts really won't use him in the passing game. I'm hoping that against the Vikings, they do use him in the passing game. But I'm not anti-Colts, but I'm pulling for the Vikings. But I'd like to see Taylor and Flacco have good games. I'm an anti-sugar guy, but I love sugar-free creamer and cinnamon in my coffee. Tyler, what's up, brother? Tyron Tracy, Reed Coleman, pick one. Tyron Tracy, he passed protocols. He's going to be good to go. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be good to go. I'm actually placing a bet right now. I'll talk about it here in a little bit. No, what up, Brian Wilson, Brian Thomas, Deontay for Chase Devontae. I like this because I'm just throwing Deontay to make it look like it's a better deal. I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that at all. Somebody could really like that, and you're not going to use them. I mean, I would, I would go Brian. I seriously think, your league better than I do, but I think Wilson and Thomas, in my opinion, I think that it's a fair trade, and whoever in your league has Chase may need some depth. Here's what you need to do. Whoever in your league has Chase and CD Lamb, do they need a number two? And if they do, is Wilson or Thomas better? More than likely they would. They may not need Deontay. This is where you have to scour, your targets, your opposition here. For example, is the guy who has CD Lamb, is he a Cowboys fan? More than likely, he's not going to let go of CD Lamb. Now, you may get a guy. It's a little more unlikely. I don't know what part of the country you're in, but maybe you got somebody who's a Jets fan or Jags fan, or better yet, maybe you got somebody who's an Ohio State or LSU fan. My buddy Perry, who's not in the chat, my buddy Perry, who's not in the chat, he's been telling me about Brian Thomas Jr. since March. If you get somebody who's a big Brian Thomas or Wilson fan, but I like the idea that you're selling high. I love that. I absolutely love it. So. No, I know. I still like him. Caleb wanted to be picked first. You reap what you sow. Yeah, that was a big deal. And there's some endorsement opportunities. One of the things that I heard he's doing is he has some sort of I can't remember if it's a media or finance company. Like he's like trying to become his own business or something like that, which is smart, by the way. One thing about high-end NFL players is they're really their own business, and I mean, part of that was for marketing, but Jaden Daniels is in a much better situation. Chicago, I'd be honest, I hated the whole way the Bears handled it, getting rid of Fields way too late. Because here's what happened to the Bears: like walking off the field, they fired their offensive coordinator Luke Getsy like immediately after the game. It was probably walking into the locker room like he was gone, like almost immediately. So I assume that when you have a talented young quarterback and an offensive coordinator and you're having some problems, you keep one, not the other, because they kept Fields forever. And then they finally decided, okay, we'll get rid of Fields way too late. They didn't get enough back in return because they really dropped the ball there. Then they were forced to pick Williams with the first pick in the draft. Then they tried to make it sound like that was the plan all along. If it was, you would have got rid of Fields. Actually, to tell you the truth, you would have gotten rid of Fields much sooner. And then they tried to make it sound like they're doing him a favor. No, they just dropped the ball. They weren't trying to do him a solid. They were just doing what was best for them. They also didn't use picks on their offensive line. Bad move considering their GM's a former offensive lineman. I thought that was a little bizarre, but that's something that they should do this offseason. We'll pay attention. The one thing is though about Jaden Daniels is I 100% believe Cliff Kingsbury will use this for another NFL job, or he could take another college job and he'll get over $10 million a year next year. He may stay in Washington and try to get a better opportunity. You never know, but we'll see. Oh, Khalil, sorry, was because he may be. Are you saying traded on your league or traded? Traded. Yeah. It's funny because Quentin Johnston was my number one receiver, but I really just didn't think he went to the right spot. To be honest with you, I was projecting that whole draft Brian Branch, who's been just playing lights out in Detroit. They needed a guy like Brian Branch with the Chargers. They didn't need another receiver because at the time they had Williams and they had Keenan Allen, and they also drafted this guy Joshua Palmer, who's got a lot of ability. Really, really talented dude. It's just for whatever reason they don't want him to be the guy for whatever reason. They keep drafting receivers. Lad McConkey, as of right now, is the number one guy, but Herbert's such a good player, man. Bonk! Bonk! I'm so glad to see you, man. Yeah. Talented guy. No Calvin Johnson, obviously, but I'll be honest. I mean, it's hard to say. I know it's going to sound nuts. I think Stafford had a little more talent. I really do. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how much I love Stafford coming out of Georgia, even though I like Herbert coming out of college quite a bit. I mean, they got talent. I think the problem's more with Williams in the offensive line than the receivers themselves. So, and by the way, I'm fully aware, but here's the drill. He's coming back to practice. There's no guarantee he's going to play. Like, for example, Jonathan Brooks is been back at practice, but he's probably not going to play. Aiden, welcome, man. Yeah, I think I probably recommended that. And listen, Downs still hasn't played. I mean, there's still a chance that you're going to get some points. I mean, and by the way, you're this if you haven't paid attention, um, if you haven't paid attention, like to the rest of the chat, if you're just joining in. By the way, Aiden, I think hopefully I'm not. Aiden hit me up on Instagram, so now we're following each other on Instagram. So Aiden has the ability, and I encourage all you guys to do this. Let's follow each other on social media. That's why the links are below. Aiden, I just accepted his request. I'm following him back, and um, always be available for comments on social media. But listen, you're in a good opportunity now. If Downs, well, hopefully you win your matchup, okay, first of all, and hopefully Downs is productive. You have the opportunity with the jump man and the production. If you wanted to, now's the time to sell Wilson. Sell high. Sell high. So if you had to cut one running back between Henry, Bijan, Aaron Jones, or Taylor, who are you cutting? Let's say full PPR. Also talking rest of the season, not just this week. Okay, that's a tough one. Full PPR diminishes both Taylor and Henry. Both these guys don't catch a lot of passes. Okay, both these guys don't catch a lot of passes. Bijan Robinson is the one I really want to keep out of all these four. Rest of the season, the reason why is that Derrick Henry's absorbed a lot of punishment. His value goes down, and it's also he doesn't have the same value. So Bijan Robinson would be number one. Okay. The guy I would cut would actually be Aaron Jones. And the reason why I say that is Aaron Jones had some problems staying healthy last year. Both Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry are at that 30 age, and Derrick Henry is going to lose production, but he's right now. I would have him as the NFL MVP. I do think his production is going to drop, but I still think that he's a. I mean, you have a possibility that you have a possibility here that he's going to get 2,000 yards. I mean, that's kind of my thought process. Aaron Jones is the most one I would say is most likely to be injured. Taylor's coming back from an injury. I think he's going to be fine going forward. It wouldn't surprise me if the last half of the season he may hit 1,000 yards just in the last 8 games alone. He's that good, especially with Flacco as the quarterback. You have a probably the biggest upside with Taylor. The problem is that in a PPR they don't really use him in the passing game. I'd like to see him more involved. You can use a lot of screen passes. That's kind of my thought process. But Aaron Jones is the one most likely to get hurt, most likely to have some decline. I think he's a phenomenal play this week. And as long as he stays healthy, he's a running back number one. But out of these four, which one has the least amount of upside? It's Aaron Jones. It just is. I mean, you have to understand something. The other three guys are guys that can possibly carry a fantasy team on your back. But John Robinson in PPR has more value. I mean, I'm not this minute. If we're playing like pick guys on the fence, but John Robinson's not as good as Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor in a full PPR league. John Robinson would be my one. Then you have to decide between Derrick Henry and Taylor. But if I had to cut one, I'd cut Aaron Jones. Just Aaron Jones will get you. I think Aaron Jones could have a monster game, and he may outperform Taylor Sunday. But rest of the year, full PPR, yeah, Jonathan Taylor, I'm not exaggerating. Last half of the season, or I mean, he had 100 yards last week. He may hit over 1,000 yards. I don't know if Aaron Jones does that. You're not. Here's the good news: you're not making a bad decision either way. Like you're going to get some points, man. Swift over or around 20 yards per carry is a little much. I like him 15 to 16 carries. I mean, that's what I would do. But I mean, the last couple of weeks, that's what he's been doing. Is he's been getting. I mean, let's go over this again here. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the correct information. Last 2 games, 18 carries, 17 carries. Before that, he had 21, but the 17 receptions, or I'm sorry, the 17 carries, he had 4 receptions against Jacksonville, and then against Washington, 18 carries, no receptions. He did have his best rushing performance. He had that 56-yard touchdown run. He had 129. So, like, even though he's been getting consistently the last several weeks, he's been getting over 20 touches. Last week he only had 18, and I do think Rashawn Johnson's going to get a little more and a little more. So, but one thing is though he's a much better receiver. They use him much more in the passing game than Jonathan Taylor in his PPR league. So you're going to get advantage with the points. So that's what I'm looking at. So yeah, this isn't news. Tyler, this isn't news. He's questionable. He hasn't practiced all week. So what the Packers are doing is they're saying, hey, it's not out of the question that Love's going to play. I think it's a game time decision. Now, he's not practicing, so they're giving Malik Willis all the first team reps. They're trying to give him a good enough practice week so that if he has to play, he can. But what the Packers are saying is that Love, even though he's not practicing, he can still play. In my opinion, the way it sounds like what they're doing in Green Bay is that they're going to start Willis, and that they just want to kind of throw some things out there to kind of mess with Detroit. Could Love not practice all week and play and be effective? Yeah, maybe, but I think it's much more likely what Green Bay is doing is that they're going to run a different game plan with Malik Willis as the starting quarterback. If you had to tell me which one's going to start, I'd say coin flip, but I think that what the plan is for Green Bay is to kind of try to confuse Detroit by having a different type of offensive scheme with Malik Willis as the starting quarterback. And then if Saturday comes around and Love feels like he's like 80, 90%, then, hey, we'll go with the old game plan. So that's kind of my thought process. But, yeah, he's questionable. Green Bay keeps on saying, hey, because Green Bay released that, hey, just because he's not practicing doesn't mean he won't play. Usually teams do that to try to throw off an opponent, and then what you want to do is you'll show up with a completely different offensive scheme and game plan that Detroit's not prepared for. But we'll see what happens. I could be way off on this, but I honestly think it's a coin flip. It kind of looks like to me that Malik Willis will get the start and they'll run kind of an offense that suits Malik Willis's abilities running, But we'll see what happens. But no, this has been news all week. I have no idea if he's going to play or not. We'll find out. Andre, what's up, brother? Got a question, half PPR, Puka or London this week if Puka. So Puka's on the injury report. I firmly believe he's going to play. And I really like Puka here, and it's nothing. I know Dallas's defense is bad. I get that, but I have no confidence in Seattle's defense at all. And I know it's kind of like, look, Dallas is playing bad. Parsons not playing. You're at home. I get all that. I really do. But I just think Seattle's defense is just bad. I know they had some good games. I know they're getting healthy. They got some good players. I get all that, but I last week I was really surprised because I expected Cup to be the 1 and Puka to be the 2, or kind of be like, they're both like Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson kind of look like they're both legit number 1 options. I mean, they really do. I mean, that's what I saw. That's what I saw on Thursday night. Like, if you want to tell me with the jump man reception that Wilson's the one, great, fine. But last time I saw the Rams play, Puka looked like the number 1. Like he's the number 1 guy with the Rams from now on. And he's going to be the number 1 guy going forward. That's what I see. Drake London's the number 1 guy, but they need to get Mooney involved. John Robinson's going to have a big game, in my opinion. If you want to win, you got to get John Robinson involved. And why they don't use Kyle Pitts more is a complete mystery. I mean, it's really ridiculous. I'll be honest with you. If I'm Kyle Pitts' agent, I'm like lobbying for a trade. Like, get me with an offense. Why is he lining up in a 3-point stance? Like, I don't get that. I mean, how can a dude who's 6'6", who runs a 4.4, have like 7 career touchdowns in 4 years? It drives me nuts. So yeah, I would go with Puka, but this is a great situation to be in. A lot of times when you bench a player and he doesn't perform, you get really frustrated. But I always try to look at it the other way and say, hey, listen, you took points away from everybody else. All right, you didn't trade either Puka or London, so I would go with Puka. I'll be honest with you, Andre. You're in a good situation because it's not a. I mean, if you're not in a bad situation. I think both are going to put up some points. I'm just telling you, I like Puka. I really do. I really, really like Puka. Oh, Funk, man. Guy who's spitting facts. Yeah. Yeah, I heard about it. I didn't see it. I heard about it. And no, I mean, Rashawn Johnson was a guy that, like, if he played at any other school other than Texas, he would have been number 1, probably would have been a 2nd-round pick. I mean, this is big back with speed. He's not a bad receiver either. I mean, I seriously, if I remember correctly, and I may just be lying to you, I think Swift's just on a 1-year deal. I mean, am I just making stuff up? But I don't think he has to stay in Chicago forever. It wouldn't surprise me if Rashawn Johnson ends up being like the starter sooner or later. I could be wrong about that. I don't remember if it was a 1-year deal or a 3-year deal. I might just be making stuff up and throwing it out there, but he's got a lot of ability and he's a big dude. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm going to watch Detroit and Green Bay. Like, I'm going to watch that whole game, whether Willis or Love starts. I'm going to watch that whole game. But I really am excited to see the Chicago-Arizona matchup. I mean, whoever wins that game really puts himself in a much better position for the wild card, because I think in the NFC there's going to be a team with 10 wins on the outside looking in, and Arizona, if they don't win that division, I don't know if the NFC West is getting another wild card. Now, Arizona might be able to get 10 wins and sneak in, but if Chicago loses and they go to 4-4, I mean, they still got to play a lot of NFC North opponents. I without looking at their schedule, I have to imagine their schedule going forward is more difficult than Arizona's. Not only that, man, I have to admit, I just love the idea of saying the first place Arizona Cardinals. It's fun. You know, I'm getting a kick out of it. But yeah, God, you're spitting facts, man. It's so good to see you in the chat, man. It's supposed to be wet and cold. Love should just take the 2 weeks off and get healthy. They have a bye next week. You know what? I didn't check the weather report on this, and you're right. They do have a bye. And then after the bye, you got some tough games. You're at Chicago, 49ers, Miami on Thanksgiving. I forgot they play Miami on Thanksgiving. At Detroit, at Seattle, then home against the Saints on Monday night. At Minnesota, final game of the season is home against the Bears. Yeah. You have a good point. And I know as a Lions fan, you know, you obviously want to see Willis more than Love. But if I'm a Packers fan, I would see what you have in Willis. I mean, you know, the one thing is a lot of people thought that he could have been a first round pick. And by the way, Jeff, you're right, because listen, if he plays well, you could be able to flip him. There was a lot of people thought he could have gone in the first round. There's some teams out there that are going to look for a quarterback, right? He's not obviously going back to Tennessee, but I'm looking at the Raiders. If he plays well, are you going to tell me he's not a better option than what you have this offseason? The one thing about the Raiders is that they win a few games, they're going to have to give up a ton of draft capital to go after either Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders. Perry was talking about maybe if you're like the Titans, maybe you just want to trade for 2026 draft capital and go all in on Arch Manning. That's another thing to think about. So maybe you want a guy like Willis that you can get relatively cheap. And by the way, if you're Green Bay, it would make a lot more sense to trade Willis and pick up somebody like, I don't know who's going to be available next year, but I'm looking at Joe Flacco, who's probably not going to stay with the Colts. That's just his deal. I'm just going to sign with the team. I mean, Flacco would make sense in Green Bay, being the backup. But yeah, I think it's smart. And by the way, if I'm Green Bay, I would say, even if I had no intention of playing Love, I would say, oh yeah, Love could play, because you're going to run a very simplified, much more of a college type of offense, a lot of zone read, a lot of RPO. Will is going to probably have several designed runs. You know, what you'll try to do is, you know, if it is wet and cold, what do you want to do against a dome team? Well, you want to run the ball, you want to control the clock, and do things like that. So yeah, I think it's a great move. Yeah. This is interesting. I'd rather play Love on a bum leg instead of a healthy Willis. Lions will still struggle stopping multiple quarterbacks. And if it's going to be wet, I'd rather force them to throw and play to run heavy offense. That's interesting. No respect for Love. Yeah, I do think, and by the way, if you're Green Bay, you want some extra draft capital, because look at those young receivers that you have. You have Dobbs, you have Watson, you have Love. You also have Kraft. You have that other tight end. I'm drawing a blank on his name. You can't play all those guys. You're going to lose a couple of those guys in free agency in a year or two. So it's a good idea to draft guys. You want to have some depth. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Green Bay drafts another receiver or two in this draft, maybe late in the draft. And it's like, well, look, I mean, they can't keep everybody. I mean, that's just the way. I mean, you just gave Jordan Love $225 million. You can't keep everybody. They also have to, still build on defense. So, yeah, it'd make a lot of sense. And then if I'm a team like the Raiders and I can't draft a guy, why not Willis instead of Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? I mean, are you going to tell me, Willis has more ability? Probably. Let me ask you this. Brian Dable, who had a lot of success with Josh Allen, do you want Daniel Jones or do you want Malik Willis, especially if you can get rid of Jones' salary? I'm just throwing stuff out there. I wasn't thinking the Raiders. I was thinking more of a team like Kansas City, Jacksonville. Like look what Philly did with Dallas Goedert. A young, talented guy, and turned in one of the best tight ends in football. Can you imagine when if Pitts was on a team like the Rams with all those other weapons? I mean, it's funny that you say the Raiders. I would have. I mean, I'll be honest. It's funny that you say that because my buddy Denver Gator, we were going to do a show, Pitts versus Bowers as far as tight end prospects. Which one was better? Because I'm Bowers and Pitts both came on the scene as true freshmen. Also, the world's largest cocktail party is tomorrow, Georgia and Florida. Fortunately, it probably won't be that good of a game, but I'm thinking more of a team like Kansas City or Jacksonville. Remember, Evan Ingram had like 108 catches last year. Imagine if he was on Detroit. Look at what they did with Laporta. Imagine a guy with a little more speed like Pitts. And by the way, I love Laporta, but I mean Pitts has unlimited potential. Can you look what Kansas City's doing with Travis Kelce? Travis Kelce's 35. And they drafted a tight end in the 4th round. What if they made a trade and got Pitts instead? Now they love Noah Gray and this kid, the former quarterback. Kansas City loves guys that used to play quarterback. Both their 2nd and 3rd string tight ends were both quarterbacks. So. There's a lot of different teams. I just don't understand that you could take a guy who's 6'6", he runs a 4.4, and you put him in 3-point stance. He never blocked in college. Why are you going to have him block now? Doesn't make a damn bit of sense. What if he was with Dallas? The Houston Texans, they by the way, the Houston Texans, they have an extra draft pick this year. They have a good tight end. Don't get me wrong. They're not, I thought Schultz would be a little more productive. They signed him to a 3-year deal, but I mean, seriously, the Pitts potential is unlimited. It's crazy, and I think it's just being flat wasted in Atlanta. It's frustrating. I don't like the idea of them getting rid of Willis. Love has some health issues, and they have no one else. The Pack's a pretty solid team. They don't need extra draft capital. Well, I mean, okay, so I'm a Chiefs fan, obviously, Funk. So what the Chiefs have always done is had up till this year, and Wentz has still been in the NFL longer than Mahomes, but the Chiefs have always had 30-plus year-old veterans, that, guys that understand an NFL offense, guys that can come in, guys that, good teammates, good locker room guys, things like that. So, getting a guy like, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, a guy that's been in the NFL for a while, I think makes a lot of sense. Also, I mean, you have some development still with Jordan Love. I mean, a lot of people can say, okay, Jordan Love's there. I always keep in mind, Andy Reid's always had veteran backup quarterbacks. The only exception was, and they did have a guy, even when they drafted Mahomes as a third string, that was in the league for a while. I'd have to look it up, but just take my word for it. You have, I like the idea of a veteran rather than a guy like Willis, because one thing is about putting Willis in instead of Love, you have to change a lot of things in your game plan. Like if Carson Wentz were to come in for Patrick Mahomes, they're going to run basically the same offense. It's just instead of this wide array of plays and wide array of audibles and the control Patrick Mahomes has, it's going to be limited, but you're running the same offense. With Malik Willis, you're running something a little different. Like with the Colts, they're going to change their offensive scheme completely. In Cleveland, that's another guy. Jameis Winston could come in. That would be an excellent option. In Cleveland, they're running a slightly different offense with Winston, but because he's a veteran, you don't have to change everything. I'll be honest, they got Willis for almost nothing. I forget the trade, but it wasn't much. And one thing about Green Bay is that they've always liked building through the draft, and they're going to have some hard decisions because they've been drafting a lot of players in the last couple of years. They're going to have some tough choices to make. They're going to lose some good guys. I mean, I know you're a Lions fan. I said the same thing to you, and I was wrong, but look, out of all those receivers you drafted, you probably can't keep all of them. So the idea of drafting a replacement or playing hardball with either Reed or Wicks or Watson, that may be an option too. I mean, you never know. It's going to be an interesting offseason for a lot of those NFC North teams. I mean, I'm dying to see what Minnesota does with their quarterback situation. I mean, you J.J. McCarthy off of an injury. Do you roll dice with him, or do you want to sign Sam Darnold? That's going to be a lot of fun. Detroit, they're always a fun team come draft time. Who knows what Detroit's going to do? I'm hoping they trade up again. It's just entertaining for me. Chicago, I mean, the last couple of years they've done creative stuff in the draft, so why not again this year? Green Bay, they've drafted a lot of players over the last couple of years. Maybe this is the year where they only draft a few. I don't know. I'm already looking forward to the draft. That's what a junkie I am. And this surprises me. This really surprises me. Yeah, he was a project quarterback. The one thing I will say is Willis did not fit in. They realized right away Willis wasn't going to be the guy. That's one thing, is that the NFL is, except for Jordan Love, if you're not good right away, they get rid of you. I mean, Kenny Pickett, Mac Jones are testament to that. But yeah, I mean, he was a project quarterback, but they were like, no, and they drafted Levis, and then they bring in a coach who wants to run something that neither one of those guys can really do. Honestly, this is a great opportunity for Mason Rudolph, who I think could fit in that offense. I love Mason Rudolph coming out of college. I have no idea why things haven't worked out with him so far, but we'll find out. But yeah, I mean, they made that decision quick. Now, he was a third-round pick, so it's not like he gave up on a first. He was only a third, but yeah, they gave up on him fast, and they traded him for almost nothing. I forget what the trade compensation was. I want to say a fifth, but I saw that. I'll be honest with you. If Willis plays, despite of everything that you said, if Willis plays, I would be shocked if Detroit didn't win by double digits. I really would be. I mean, I love the way Detroit's been playing right now, and I like their offense against a Packers defense. I'm not sold on. People, oh, look at all these interceptions. Oh, okay. I mean, I seriously, I'm not going to bet on the over, but even with it being cold and wet, I still expect Detroit to put up 30 on the Packers. And then if you have Willis, you want to play a lot of ball control. If you have Love, you may want to try to win in a shootout. It's going to be a fun game. All these late games are going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I can't wait to watch Chicago and Arizona. Rams in Seattle. We'll see how right I am about them. And then, Jacksonville and Philly. If Jacksonville scores, it could be a fun game. Doug Peterson comes back to the place where they have a statue of him. It's kind of fun. Orion Canyon, what's up, my brother? Looks like BTJ would be a game time decision. If he can't play, my options are McMillan or Duze. Also, Mozart or Keenan Allen. Okay, so I always like 3 down backs over receivers. And Mozart, even though he wasn't productive, he's been getting more and more touches. I do expect him to have about 10 touches, even though A-Chain looks like a really great option. Really great option. So I like Mozart a lot better. Oduze's a better player, obviously. I like guys on Monday night, and McMillan will probably get more opportunities. It is a tough Chiefs team, but you're not really. I mean, let's be honest, Brian Thomas. I'm a level with it. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play. But if he can, I would lean toward McMillan. Keep in mind, a lot of that has to do with I like guys on Monday night. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Funk. I seriously, I didn't know that, and that's part of the reason why I want people from different fan bases to come in. I had Jeffrey tell me that Njoku was banged up. I went on ESPN. I didn't see it. I didn't know that. I really didn't. I do expect Detroit's offense to still put up 30. But it'll be something to pay attention to because I mean I'm really excited to watch the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. As much as I want to see Chicago and Arizona, the afternoon game of the week is Detroit and Green Bay. I mean, that's not a question. Not a question. I was going to say all the NFC North teams are playing late. Kind of fun if you're an NFC North fan. But yeah, I'm going to watch a lot of those games. I mean, don't get me wrong. During the day, I mean, I'm going to pay attention. I got money on Ravens, Bears. So, but yeah, I didn't know that. Willis could be trouble. We'll see what happens. Let's see if Aaron Glenn can make the appropriate adjustments. Well, the Commanders made a move for Ertz, and Ertz was a former Eagles, kind of fun. They used to have, I can't even find them on the depth chart, but they used to have the guy, the former Virginia Tech quarterback, but that's actually not a bad move at all. This offseason, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. I don't think they would do it at the trade deadline. I'm going to level with you. If I'm Pitt's agent, I would be lobbying for this. But it probably won't happen this year. It wouldn't surprise me if Washington made a move like this after the season's over. If I'm correct, this is Pitt's 4th year. I have to think about 3rd or 4th. I want to say 4th year. So he has that 5th year option. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, this is yeah, he has that 5th year option. So I mean, um 29 receptions, 419 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns last week, finally. No, if I seriously, yeah. I mean, I didn't think about it, but you know, 5th year option, it'd be a nice. Maybe they do make a move. I mean, this would be a guy that you want to move if you're Atlanta. I mean, I don't know who the backup is off the top of my head. I should, but I don't. But do you think there's any risk of the Dolphins or Jets being out of playoff contention and the usage of guys like Brees and Tyreek Fall from the last couple of weeks if they're like 5-9? Absolutely, especially Brees Hall. Um, with Brees Hall, you know, you got that rookie Braden Allen, and they love that kid. I mean, they love that kid. So absolutely, and Tyreek Hill's just kind of a flinty guy. I mean, he may just. He's the type of guy I could see just, you know, if they're 5-9, just saying, hey, look, I'm just going to shut it down for the rest of the year. I got bad hamstring. You know, I'm making a lot of money. You know, um, Tyreek Hill's kind of a weird flinty type of guy. Brees Hall, because you have a backup. But yeah, absolutely. And you know, with the Jets winning and the Jets schedule, they have an opportunity. But if Miami loses this week, the Buffalo, and they probably will, you know, they're going to be 2-6, and they could just say, hey, look, you know, we got. I mean, here's the deal: the next three, they have the Rams on Monday night. If they lose that game and go to 2-7, I mean, they could just shut it down completely. And to be honest with you, if I'm Miami, I would love to be able to get 2 number 1s back. Look, this is mean. This is really mean, but the Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill has almost directly resulted in 2 Super Bowl wins. I mean, that sounds mean, but yeah. Keys! God, I'm going to end the show in like 3 minutes, but yeah. But yeah, if you're a fantasy football fan and you have to worry about Tyreek Hill now. But absolutely. And with Brees Hall, they really like Braden Allen. They really, really do. And you know, I mean, with the Jets, you have no idea what they're going to do. But yeah, absolutely. I would think more with Tyreek than Brees, but I have no confidence Miami's going to get things together. I do think the Jets can turn things around. I'm really surprised Tannehill hasn't signed. Chase owner has Mooney at wide receiver number 2. Oh God, yeah. Okay, so the CD owner probably isn't going to make that move, probably, but the Chase owner would. Gatelin, listen, I won't be on next week, but you can comment in anything and awesome stuff in the community tab. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got the Sunday ticket, so I'm gonna go and watch all the games. I have a weird system. I watch a game, and then like if another game looks more interesting, I pause it, I flip over, and I kind of watch them both. I just flip back and forth. Um, the early part of the game, like I'm gonna try to watch as much as I can. Usually, because there's no London game, what I'll do is there is a possibility if I sleep in, because the games start at 10 out here, I may just watch the red zone. But because I got action on Baltimore and Denver, I'll probably watch Baltimore and Denver and then just flip back to some of these other games. Whichever one looks the most interesting, I'll probably watch all of that. So, but yeah, I get it. Yeah. Keys, I am so glad to see you, man. I got to end the show. I won't be on next week. I'll hit you up because I'm hoping we can work something out where you can come back on. I love having you on. So Miami does need to sell, and I think the Jets have a chance. I really do. I really do. Oh yeah, the Bills always help the Chiefs out. Daddy Dan, my boy Max. By the way, congratulations to Max. He went to a Halloween party last night and scored. So very happy for Max. I love Max. Jets downgraded head coach, defensive coordinator Rodgers at cancer. I really added Tannehill as my backup quarterback on Madden and traded Wentz. That's actually a smart move. That's actually a real smart move. But yeah. Oh God, we've got some argument. I got to end the show, so I'll end on this note. Guys, listen, I apologize. I won't be on next week, but I am going to be available. If you get a hold of me on social media, I will respond. I'll try to respond the same day. I'm going to quote you 24 hours. Usually I can get back to you much sooner, but I will get back to you. I will have stuff in the community tab as well. I may have a video coming out, but more than likely I won't. If you do have any questions, drop a comment on this live stream or any one of these videos. I will get back to you. So like I'm gonna stay in touch. It's just I won't be live next week. So guys, have a great weekend. If you need to get a hold of me, drop a comment in here, social media, or email me, and I'll get back to you. Have a great weekend. I hope to hear you. I hope to all see you back Monday. I will be live for Chiefs and Bucks. I will be doing live play-by-play and reaction. So I'll be out for next week live, but I will be live for Chiefs and Bucks. So I'll see you then. Have a great week, everybody. Orion, you have a great week. I'll see y'all back. Max, congratulations. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Hope everybody comes back for Monday Night Football.